Hey guys, it's Mr. Wolfie, and I just am appalled because, well, let's just start this out by explaining the situation a little more adequately. I recently wrote an article for the Facebook feminist page Lilith's Garden, and I was just going to read the article in its entirety, and then I'll move on to the topic at hand. So, really, this is going to set up the backstory. A variant cover for a future Batgirl comic book will include an artistic reference to The Killing Joke, a storyline by Alan Moore in which Barbara Gordon, aka the original Batgirl, was shot and possibly sexually abused by the Joker. This has given rise to quite the controversy on social media, with a strong push from certain groups, you know who those are, to remove or alter the cover for reasons ranging from protecting the so-called target audience of young women and girls from being exposed to sexual violence, disrespecting the growth and strength the character has shown in overcoming her tragic ordeals, and even that it will turn the female demographic away from reading comic books altogether due to a fear that comic portrayals of women will be that of the victim instead of the hero. Above all, the largest claim aesthetically is that Batgirl's tears imply that women are just helpless victims even when they're superheroes. Alright, so it's important to note the discrepancies in logic while holding such beliefs as these. For starters, comic books have dealt with the topic of sexual assault for decades, and in far less subtle ways than the acts perpetrated by the Joker in The Killing Joke. Sue Dibney, for instance, wife of the Elongated Man, was violently raped by Dr. Light aboard the Watchtower while the Justice League were away, which created vast repercussions and multiple storylines within the DC universe. Some comic books, such as the Max, Cerebus the Aardvark, and others, have dealt with rape as a cornerstone of their mythos and moral dilemmas, often skirting the edge of what is and isn't acceptable when it comes to sexual conduct, or rather misconduct. And perhaps most importantly, this controversy makes the assumption that the female readers of the Batgirl comic book are unable to properly comprehend the true nature of sexual assault, or that they are incapable of making this distinction between what is and what is not acceptable for themselves. Those outraged are not the female or even the male fans of the comic book itself. They are the same sort of people who have been known to stir up trouble in the past over such topics as Shirtgate, Gamergate, and the recent cover of Spider-Woman, which had to be altered due to it showing her in a pose that many consider too sexy. Beyond that, rape has occurred multiple times to male characters as well, and this list is only applying to the DC Universe. Now, at this point, I have a link to a list, and I'll put it in the description of the video. People have long been making the claim that comics need to grow up and be more open to a wider demographic of readers. And they're right. And they can start by not backpedaling all the progress that they have made towards realism and gender equality over the past few decades, just because a few non-comic fans are offended for people they haven't even taken the time to ask the opinion of. They can start by not treating the fans like they're just children. And then I signed it Jacob Baggett. So, as of something like an hour ago, based on when I'm actually making this video, they have in fact changed the cover, or the artist has requested that the cover not be made available to the public. His claims, and I'm going by the Comic Book Resources page, says DC Comics, is the article they wrote, DC Comics cancels Batgirl Joker variant cover at artist's request. He said, "My intention was never to hurt or upset anyone through my art. For that reason, I have recommended to DC that the variant cover be pulled." Now, apparently, the reason this happened is because of the backlash of the change the cover hashtag, as well as some other things, such as things going on Tumblr. But this is what DC had to say about it. We publish comic books about the greatest heroes in the world and the most evil villains imaginable. The Joker variant cover for June are in The Joker variant covers, rather, for June are in recognition of the 75th anniversary of The Joker. Regardless if fans like Raphael Albuquerque's, is that his name? Raphael Albuquerque's, I think, image to Alan Moore's The Killing Joke graphic novel from 25 years ago, or find it inconsistent with the current tonality of the Batgirl books, threats of violence and harassment are wrong and have no place in comics or society. We stand by our creative talent, and per Raphael's request, DC Comics will not publish the Batgirl variant. DC Entertainment. DC has admitted in their article that they're taking the reason the variant cover is being removed is because of threats of harassment and violence. They're not selling it. It is a variant cover. It is not the main cover. If you don't want it, don't buy it. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, that you would take away a variant cover that collectors and people, it had fantastic artwork. Oh my gosh. It, I was going to purchase this. I was going to purchase the variant cover and display it on my wall because I thought it was some very good artwork. And then I caught wind of this stupid change the cover nonsense, and it appears, based on all the tweets, that the overwhelming majority are in favor of not changing it, yet the threats of harassment and violence are the main reason that they have taken it away. So, too bad for all the people that were looking forward to the cover. Too bad for all the people that were collecting all the Joker covers. Too bad for the people like me who was going to put it on the wall as a piece of art. I have comics all over my wall. Too bad, too sad. If you're a fan of anything, you know, you're not important anymore. You're not worth any consideration. And I do appreciate Raphael's position on this because I believe he was forced into it, but likely the threats were pretty severe, or he wouldn't have considered taking it down. He think he took the best route he could have. I did respond to one particular post by saying I referred to it in one conversation as something of a Rorschach's test. New comic book collectors, unaware of the Killing Joke and the Joker's sordid history with the Gordons, would likely just see it as any other comic book cover in which the villain was threatening the hero of the story. This has been shown countless times in other ways, but people who knew of the story arc would attach a deeper, darker meaning to it, which is sort of what's happening. Thing is, the cover itself is benign. It's not sexual in any way, does not allude to a sexual assault on its own, and has no direct reference to the Killing Joke beyond subtle visual cues. So making the claims that the cover somehow promotes sexual violence is on its own because it's paying homage to a story that is iconic and infamous is downright absurd. Attaching special meaning to it based on its value is the literal definition of reading a book by its cover. They've come out and said that the threats were definitely not against the artist. And the guy who said it, who's actually the writer of the book, blocked me when I asked him about it. Either that, or he is using the block bot, and me tweeting him, took advantage of that, and I was blocked automatically. But he didn't want the cover on his book anyway, from his own admission. So I'm suspecting that the writer of the book somehow did not like the cover and was not going to allow it on his book in the first place. And so this whole situation is just one big freaking mess because a bunch of people were offended by the artwork of an individual who is a fantastic artist. So under no circumstances is the artist to blame for any of this. He finally caved under the pressure for some reason, but I'm beginning to think that it was a corporate decision or possibly the decision of the writer of the book because of the circumstances so far. Now we're going to keep looking into it. I don't know. I'm quite irritated by this whole thing. And I'll keep you up to date. Anyway, guys, peace out. This has been Mr. Wolfie. Love you guys.